Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. From now through May 6th, if you use that promo code, you will automatically be entered into a drawing to win a War of the Spark booster box. See the description below for details. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and today we have more War of the Spark preview cards to recap and analyze for you. We also got to look at 2 new Judge promos, so I figured we'd roll those in as well. So let's get started. As always, if you're curious about the source of the cards, check out the description below. Here are the 2 latest Judge promos, Mirri's Guile and Mox Opal. So Mox Opal needs no introduction. We don't need to talk about that one. You know what that card does. Mirri's Guile, however, that's a pretty cool reprint. It's never been reprinted before. It's from Tempest. It's about a $60 card. It sees a little bit of legacy play, very fringe, but at least a little bit. It's a really sweet card though, and they kept the same art, which I do think is kind of awesome. So 2 pretty good choices, I think. Now, if you're not familiar with Judge promos, what it means is if I'm a judge and I get recognized by my peers during this time period, I have a chance of getting one of these cards. They are premium foil cards, but they don't make all that many of them in the scheme of things, so they don't necessarily impact the market value of the existing cards pretty much at all. They can also be quite expensive. As a matter of fact, I bet that Mox Opal becomes very expensive quickly. One thing this does signify, though, is that we will most likely not see these reprinted in another product for a little while. Let's move on to War of the Spark, and we're going to look at one of those Planeswalkers that got leaked about a week ago. We discussed this card at length then, so I don't want to spend too much time on it today. But I will say this is a pretty solid card. 5 mana, 5 loyalty. She's a one-sided mana flare for forests anyway. She protects herself well. And she could be good in mono green Stompy or in a Simic deck with Hydroid Crisis. This definitely sees standard play, great for Commander and Limited too. Domri Anarch of Bolas, another card that was part of that leak. So again, I'm going to go kind of quickly here. But another solid card that could definitely see some standard play and some Gruul builds. Martyr for the Cause, we're going to see a lot of good limited cards today. There's a few that could cross over into standard, but for the most part, a lot of the cards in today's video are going to be strong ones for Draft or Sealed. This is one of those. It's a bear with upside. You already know how I feel about that, right? 2/2 for 2. Nothing wrong with that. And also, when it dies, I get to proliferate. If I get to proliferate, wonderful. If I don't, I'm still okay. This is a good curve filler. But there's plenty of things to do with the proliferate mechanic in the set. You have Amass, you have the Planeswalkers, you have a lot of +1/+1 counters, especially in the Simic colors. You'll find something to do with this. Topple the Statue. Now this one maybe could see a little standard play out of sideboards if there's a problematic artifact out there in the meta at some point. But other than that, it's a decent limited card. I like the fact that it cantrips, it does replace itself, it only costs 3, it's an instant. Nice little tempo play or a way to deal with an artifact. Notice this is tap target permanent, so you could even tap a land with this prior to your opponent's main phase. Might not always make your main deck in Draft or Sealed, but remember it is there in case you come across a problematic artifact. Chain Whip Cyclops, now this I like. You know how I feel about those grindy games of Sealed especially. They go on and on, you need a way to put the game away. This is one of those ways. 5 casting cost 4/4, I mean those are okay stats, but it's all about that ability. Red and 3, target creature can block this turn. Maybe I have 8 mana later in the game. Maybe I have 12 mana. Making 2 or 3 of my opponent's creatures unable to block could put me ahead enough to win the game and close it out. This is a great common pickup. Dreadhorde Twins. Okay, here's the red card that will enable the zombie tokens, this time giving them trample. So how's the economy here for Draft or Sealed? It's okay. 2/2 for 4, but you get the Amass 2, so you are adding 4/4 power and toughness on the battlefield for 4, and you get the ability. If I'm not doing anything with the ability, in other words, I'm not really deep into Amass, this is just a kind of okay curve filler. It's there if you need it, the economy is okay. But if you're all in on the Amass and you can make a big token, trample in, get that damage across, then this will be worth your time. I'm not really feeling this strategy in Standard because you're going to want a big Amass creature, and I don't think that's going to be stable enough in Standard. Wide zombie token decks might be possible in the format, but this doesn't really help that strategy. Ilharg the Raze-Boar. Okay, this card is insane. It is a mythic. You're not going to see it all that often when you open your packs, but wow. Legendary creature Boar God. 5 casting cost, 2 of it on color. 6/6 trample. I could stop right there and it's a pretty good card, right? Well, I'm going to keep going. When this attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Return that creature to your hands at the beginning of the next end step. So kind of like sneak attack, but the creature goes back to your hand. Then if it dies or gets exiled, you get to put it back in your deck 3 from the top. So there is so much happening here, so much value for what you're paying. This definitely sees standard play. This thing is a monster. I hope your opponent has a counterspell for this because there's not a lot of other ways to get rid of it. You can tempo it a little bit, but it's going to come back a few turns later. This will be a big part of Stompy decks going forward, I have no doubt. This might even see modern play in like Agorio's Vengeance deck. In Legacy, I would at least want to test it out in a sneak attack deck and see if it adds anything to it. This is clearly a bomb in Limited, and in Commander, this thing is going to be amazing. It is legendary. You can make this your Commander if you want to. It's going to combo with a lot of things out there. I'll get you started. Madome, the Ageless. Okay, take it from there. Raging Crunch. This is another really solid card for Limited. It's very aggressive. Notice it says that it can't attack alone, not can't attack or block alone. So worst case scenario, you got yourself a 4/3 blocker for 3. You know, that's not that bad, and at some point, hopefully you can attack in with it. Yes, it only has 3 toughness. That's a little fragile, but you're only paying 3 for this, and I do think it could do some work and a lot of times even trade up in combat. Another very good red common for Drafter Sealed. Awakening of Vitu-Ghazi. This is a pretty big surprise, right? 5 casting cost, instant speed, throw 9+1/+1 counters on one of your lands. It gets haste. Now, it does not untap the land. So you want to think of this card as maybe something you want to play at the end of your opponent's turn to surprise them. Or maybe if you draw it later in the game, you have more than 5 lands and you can go ahead and immediately use it and attack in for 9 with one of your lands. That would be awesome. But the land doesn't have evasion, and because of that, I don't really feel like it's going to cross over well into Standard. It just is a big dumb creature, and big dumb creatures don't typically fare well in an environment that's very competitive. However, in Drafter Sealed, having a 9/9 creature on the battlefield is not bad, especially one that can show up out of nowhere. It could be a powerful card to turn the tide. Also note that it turns your land into an elemental creature that's legendary named Vitu-Ghazi, so that could be applicable from time to time, although I don't expect you to get 2 of these typically in a Drafter Sealed game because they are rare, of course. Crunch Wrangler. Okay, this is not bad. A 2/1 for 2. It's not a 2/2 for 2, but you know what? It has trample and maybe you can grow it over time, especially if you have some tricks like Proliferate. Now you want to play this with some big creatures to get the ball rolling, but I don't think that's going to be a problem in Sealed or Draft, especially when you're in green. Maybe you could be in Gruul colors. There'll be a lot of opportunities there to grow this, I'm sure. Sprinkle in some other ways to add +1/+1 counters, and you could be having a good day. Nissa's Triumph. This is kind of interesting. 2 green to search your library for 2 basic forests and put them in your hand. However, if you control a Nissa Planeswalker, you get to search for 3 lands instead. So here's the thing. First, I thought, could I try this in Tron? But my thought is, if I work this into the deck and a Nissa Planeswalker, even if it is a cheap one, I don't know. I feel like I'm diluting my strategy a little too much for this. Another thing I could do is maybe try to work this into an elf deck, but even in Standard nowadays, there's so many good cards that let you get mana without necessarily tempoing you as badly as this one. So I'm not really feeling it for Standard, although I'd at least want to test it and try it out and just kind of see how it runs. Maybe you could do something cute with this along with Scapeshift and the new Creature Land Mobilized District. With that being said though, in Limited it could be helpful if you're trying to ramp out a little bit. And even though you do tempo yourself a little bit here, it isn't going to be as punishing as if you're playing Standard or something like that. So I do think it could be a good card there. The second ability might even come in handy from time to time, who knows? But even if you're just grabbing 2 forests with this, it could be good enough. Thundering Ceratok. Okay, so this is a 4/5 for 5 with trample. Those are decent stats for Sealed or Draft, regardless of what else the card says. When this enters the battlefield, though, other creatures you control gain trample till end of turn. So depending on board state, again, this could be a way to close out the game if you have a lot of big creatures that can't get by. Or maybe early on, you just want a 4/5 trample creature that's a nice little curve filler. Again, very, very playable in green Draft or Sealed decks. Domri's Ambush. Now, this is sorcery speed. I like the card a lot. I don't think it's going to cross over into Standard, though, because I do feel like it's a little too slow for the environment right now. But with that being said, this is going to be a premium piece of removal for you if you're in these colors in Draft or Sealed. Again, you get a +1/+1 counter, which plays well with Proliferate. You can take out a Planeswalker on the fly if you need to with this, perhaps. It is board state dependent. It is a sorcery, but at least it doesn't cost you much. Living Twister. This is pretty solid, too. This is an excellent anti-aggro card, and it's also a decent aggro card, maybe, as well. For anti-aggro strategies, you got a 3 casting cost creature that's got 5 toughness, a 2/5, and then as time goes on, you can start pitching lands to blow up some of those small creatures if you need to. at least sideboard playable in like a Stompy deck or something like that to protect themselves. An aggro deck might be interested just because if they do stall out and start running out of gas drawing into too many lands, well, now they can start pitching those lands to push across that last damage. Could work out there, definitely worth trying, maybe just splash a little green and a mono red deck to accommodate this. With this cheap casting cost and the ability, I would not count this out of Modern. Obviously, again, we have a limited bomb here. It is a rare this time and not a mythic, so it won't show up often, but a little more frequently. And in Commander, this will be amazing in some of those lands decks, like the Lord Windgrace builds, for example. Perfect there. Very, very interesting card here. It's a strange Gruul card with so much toughness and little offense, but a great ability set. Alright, with that being said, those are our cards for today, and we're going to come back tomorrow. We're going to do the same thing, but until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.